Contact.
Okay, you're good.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you. I really, first off, I appreciate everyone changing your schedules and to accommodate this so that we could get together. These are trying times, and so yeah, it's very, very appreciative, as is everyone on the select board and our town management. To get this started, there's a script that I'm supposed to read, so please bear with me just for a moment here. As a preliminary matter, I, Pat Morris, who is the chair of the Finance and Warrant Advisory Committee, please permit me to confirm that all members of the Finance Committee are present. And so when I call your name, please respond by affirming and stating your full name when I call your name so that they can keep the notes. So Elizabeth, are you there? That's a no. Sarah?
No, Elizabeth is here. She's just joining audio right now.
Okay.
Give her 1 second.
Hi.
Hi, Elizabeth. All right. So just give me your name, Elizabeth, so they know you're there.
Elizabeth Budzinski.
Thank you. Sarah?
Sarah Clemens is here.
Thank you. George?
George Watson's here.
Thank you. Dan?
Daniel Lamoureux's here.
Thank you. Pat Morris, I'm here. Jared?
Jared Quill's here.
Tony?
Tony Piltzeker's here.
Thank you. Bob? Well, I told you he was number 9. And Susan? Is Susan there?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we've got 8. We have a quorum, so we'll get going. So again, good evening. This open meeting of the Finance and Warrant Advisory is being conducted consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020. Due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings. And as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of the public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted with the agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely, so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuing public access does not ensure public participation. Some participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment. For this meeting, the Finance and Warrant Committee is convening by Zoom as posted in the town website identifying how the public may join. So with that, I also want to say that the select board is joining us. So Dave, do you want to tell us who on your board is present?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So it's 5:30 on Tuesday, March 5th, May 5th, 2020. A call to order the Town of Sutton Select Board, and we'll do a roll call. David Hall, Chair, present. Wendy Mead.
Wendy Mead, Vice Chair, present.
Jesse.
Jesse Lemanik, clerk, present.
Jeff.
Jeff Bannon, member, present.
I believe Jonathan Anderson is not here. Is that correct? Hearing nothing. And if I can just make a quick remark, I'd like to thank the Finance Committee for allowing us to join their meeting tonight. This is really a Finance Committee meeting, but there's been a lot of things going on with the budget, given sort of the circumstances around the country right now. And since you were having a budget update meeting, it seemed like a good opportunity for us to be involved in that. But I think really we'll just treat this as a Finance Committee meeting, and having it be a joint meeting, just I think for rules of order, is an easier way for us to be able to go into the comment section if we can. But I think, Pat, if we could just open it up to your committee, and at some point when it's appropriate, I think our members, if it's okay, will just wave to be recognized. And if if you want to handle that, that's fine.
Okay, thank you very much, and we agree. So I'm told that that Jim and Tim will be speaking. So if you can let me know you're there by identifying yourselves, I'll turn the meeting over to you.
James Smith, Town Manager.
Tim Harrison, Finance Director.
Okay, Mr. Smith, go ahead.
Christine, are we all set on the PowerPoint or?
Yep, hang on one sec, I'll get it.
So I will, I'll walk you through this, where we are as we speak. A lot has changed over the last 45 days, as everybody is aware. When we did the preliminary presentation in February, we had roughly $76,000 in state aid from the governor, with a hope that the House and Senate would increase that in amount. The budget was in a deficit, but we felt confident we were going to be able to solve that situation, which we did, and it was relatively easily handled. But then obviously the stay-at-home order came in place as a result of coronavirus, probably in the middle of March, and has been that way since that point in time. So, what we've had in 2020 is probably 2/3 of the year with things moving along as they normally did. Local receipts were doing very well. State aid payments were coming in. Property taxes were being paid. So even right now, we are doing relatively well with local receipts and property taxes. May 1 was the deadline for paying taxes. We've received quite a bit of that money already. The fact is, most of it is escrowed through the mortgage companies, and we received large batches of those payments. So those are being posted probably over the next week or so, and then we'll know where we are at. But local receipts, motor vehicle excise, those are usually paid. The big payment is usually in the middle of March. So those came in. Building inspection fees came in over budget, just because we had a couple of large properties in Prime Metals and IBA. So I think this year in 2020, we will be fine with our ending the year. The real issue comes in 2021. So let's go through this presentation and hopefully answer some of your questions, and then you can ask questions after the fact. Okay, next slide. So this is probably old news for many of you. That number has come down a little bit, and I'll explain why, but it's an increase of $997,950 over the FY20 final budget, or 3%. It was going up a little bit higher than that originally, but we've made some cuts that we'll describe in future slides. Next slide. The biggest, one of the changes we've made is level funding local aid for 2021. We did receive an increase of $76,000 and change from the governor in the H1 budget. Nobody is expecting that to happen in 2021. We are anticipating potentially a cut in local aid. To what extent, no one can tell you. I did talk to Joe McKenna, emailed Ryan Fatman. Both of them have said that they're still in discussions. The House and Senate is actually looking for the first time to do a joint budget resolution, trying to get everybody on the same page. Typically, it's the House hears it in May, right about this time, and then the Senate goes next. But since it's so uncertain, I think they want to get on the same page. So we are working with that. We have decided to still increase the schools by $400,000, which was their request. Obviously, they would like more, but that's what we had appropriated. The $39,000 in Chapter 70 money, that is gone since we level funded state aid. BVT, is going up $90,000. In Norfolk Aggie, no additional students have applied. Our biggest budget buster at the preliminary hearing was the healthcare. We had original thoughts from Fallon that our healthcare was going up in the mid-teens, probably 14, 15, 16%. That's due to very poor experience. We've had we had 1 month of, it's based on the number 1, as everybody knows, or 100. And we had 1 month experience of 444%. A claim of well over $1 million that came in. And that's an unfortunate situation that a family's dealing with, but that's why we have healthcare, is to address these situations. But as a result, we had more active use of the healthcare plan, and therefore our premiums were planning to go up. We did make some plan design changes in cooperation with the unions through the IAC, and we've brought that down to roughly a 7% increase. The premium is actually going up very little. The challenge is we have worked with the unions to put more money in the health savings account and the health reimbursement account. So both of those accounts are going up significantly, but our premium is only going up a couple of percent. So that's good news. We did contact Maya to get a quote from them just to understand what kind of environment we were dealing with. And Maya came back and offered us a rate of the mid-20s. So we knew we were in good hands, at least this year, with Fallon and working with them to get the best possible rate. Erin Chinapi, our human resource person, did a great job analyzing all the numbers. And, it's been a partnership to come up with this. And we're in the process of open enrollment at this point in time. Next slide. So we are looking right now to build up our cash reserves. We are capital plan, for one, is, and I believe you all have a copy of the capital plan revised because of COVID. We essentially cut that in half. We were originally dealing with some things that needed to be done, but they weren't immediate needs. So we pushed off a lot of those. And by taking this action, we will have around $1.8 million in free cash at year end. That's not including any additional free cash that may be added. That's just a result of, as of today, what we expect free cash balance to be at year end and to be certified by Department of Revenue. We are decreasing local receipts by $40,000. As both boards know, we historically conservatively budget local receipts. Not because we anticipated this, just because it's good practice to do that. Typically, our local receipts come in well over what we budgeted. So our 2019 actual local receipts came in at 3.1718 million, and we budgeted $2,292,000. So, there's a cushion there of roughly $180,000, anticipating some slowdown in local receipts, some slowdown in investment income. Motor vehicle excise tax. I don't know that people are going to car lots right now and buying new cars. So we are anticipating that. It's hard to know at what level we cut at this point in time, and I'll talk about that in a second. To offset that decrease, we are cutting property casualty insurance. We had a little bit of a buffer in there. We've eliminated that. So property casualty insurance is going down this year by 2.3%. So that created that ability to do that. And with with the approval of the select board, hopefully at the May 19th meeting, we are planning to suspend the OPEB funding policy. And that means our plan is to move $100,000 in OPEB funding to the reserve fund, overseen by the Finance Committee, to address potential cuts in state aid or local receipts or whatever we see on the horizon. That'll give us some additional flexibility. That'll bring the reserve fund up to $130,000 in anticipation of what could come down. We have been talking to some fellow state individuals. We don't know what's going to happen, but it's expected that they will cut state aid, most likely UGA, unrestricted general government aid, and secondarily they will look at Chapter 70, but I'm a little concerned about them cutting Chapter 70. But in situations like this, everybody's on deck. So we are anticipating close to a 10% cut in UGA money, the general revenue that comes to the town. That would mean roughly an $80,000 cut in our budget because we receive a little over $800,000 from the state in unrestricted general aid revenue. Chapter 70 is another story. If they cut Chapter 70 by any percent, it will affect us a little bit. It will crush the cities. Worcester, Fall River, Lowell, Holyoke, Springfield. I know Fall River because I was there. Their Chapter 70 is currently about $140 million, and pretty much their entire school department budget is funded through Chapter 70 funds. So that $14 million cut would crush that school system. So I don't know what's going to happen. There has been a significant amount of discussion at the federal level about pretty much having a CARES Act number 4 or 5 or wherever we're at, essentially some relief to states and municipalities. So we are waiting not only on the state leaders to decide what they're going to do, but also at the federal level to see what their response will be. But hopefully we'll hear something in a short period of time. Next slide. So these are changes since the preliminary budget. The top half is all the plan changes that we had thought about in late February and March. Unless there's specific questions on that, we can move on from that. The sick leave buyback, that's the lieutenant's position. Dave Perry, prior to 2006, that was grandfathered in. So Dave was an employee well before 2006, and he has that accumulated sick time for buyback. He is planning on retiring in July or early August. So that is, we've got the accrued compensations fund that was recently created, and that will be there to address that issue. So not a huge issue for us. State aid, we've decreased it by $65,000 and increased new growth correspondingly. You may recall that one of the previous slides had that state aid was going up $76,000. Some of that is other funds that are not directly tied to state aid, Chapter 70 or UGA. That's veterans reimbursements at 75%. It's pilot money. It's other types of revenue that comes in. So we did cut what was anticipated to be increases in Chapter 70 and UGA. Local receipts, we talked about cutting that, and we're dealing with that by responding with cutting property casualty. And OPEB funding, that's moving it between lines from the OPEB funding account to the reserve fund. And that'll bring the reserve fund up to $130,000. Next slide. This is something we do every presentation, the 5-year forecast. We've been relying upon this, and it's a great tool that we have. You may recall in the preliminary budget that the deficit was going to hit us in 2024, 2025. But because of our use of new growth to offset this issue, the deficit is now going to hit in 2023, 2024. You know, we put it out there. We have a scenario. We walked through that. I don't know what I've gone through the assumptions with the finance committee. I know I have with the select board, but there are some assumptions that really Tim has put together this 5-year forecast that he regularly updates. You know, that's just saying that, you know, we've got a problem on the horizon, and it looks like it's relatively far away. Obviously, if this situation gets worse before it gets better, that problem gets closer to us, and you know, something just to keep in mind. Next slide. So employee benefits, pensions have gone up 12%. They've maintained their payment of the unfunded liability by 2035. Now, with the issues with the stock market, we have no idea what's going to happen. The good news is that the pension returns went up 13% this last year, and they did nothing to the funding schedule, nothing to anything. So, you know, now with the stock market down, hopefully that mitigates a little bit of the issue, but we are waiting for the Worcester Regional Pension Board to talk to us about the funding schedule. It may go out a little further than 2035. Healthcare, really the IAC was huge, as well as the finance team. We got our healthcare down, but we did have to increase our reimbursement account, as well as our health savings account. So essentially we're all on $2,000, $4,000 plans. $2,000 for an individual, $4,000 for a family. The HSA is easiest. You know, we used to match half, you know, $750 and $1,500. We are now matching $1,000 and $2,000. So for the HSA, for Fallon Select, we are reimbursing the second half of the deductible. So they're responsible for the first $2,000, and the second $2,000, the town will reimburse them on the family plan. On an individual plan, they're responsible for the first $1,000, and the town will reimburse the second $1,000. You know, not everybody accesses that. You know, the healthier people just never reach their, on a family level, of $4,000 or $2,000 to get the other $2,000, access to the other $2,000. So, you know, we are moving forward with this. This is the greatest way to get the savings, but it does put the employees at greater costs. Exposure. So, you know, that's what we came up with. I think it's a good plan. I think, you know, it's more in reality, probably with what the, you know, the finance is actually dealing with. is the old, Rolls-Royce type plan that we used to have that we've talked about in the past. Interestingly, opt-outs haven't increased all that much since last year. Right now, it's at 28. It may go up to 30. I was surprised to hear that there wouldn't be more opt-outs, but that just says that healthcare is becoming a challenge in every area of the economy. So while our rates are growing, I would assume that other rates are growing just as much. So that's the situation.
Hey, Jim, can I interrupt for just 1 second?
Sure.
I think we have one more participant from the Finance Committee that's waiting to come in, but they can't let them in while your presentation's on screen.
Okay.
You just pause long enough to do that, Christine?
Sure.
Yep. Sorry about that. Okay.
They with us?
Yep.
Who joined us, please?
He's still connecting his audio, it says.
Sorry. Someone just rang the doorbell. Sorry. All right.
While we're here, I just want to compliment Jim and his team on the health insurance. I put it in the chat, but I don't know if y'all can see that, but that's a really great work. 7% is really, really good for today's healthcare.
Yeah, thanks, Liz.
Can't see that in the chat.
Go back.
Health insurance. I put it in the chat, but I don't know if you.
No, keep it on because I can't see. Oh, that's all right. Never mind.
Hi, Bob. Okay.
All right. Thank you. We had a little problem here, but Sutton Fire Department took care of it. Yeah.
Hey, Bob, so we're live, so you might want to just mute yourself for a little while we're just going through the presentation.
Okay. Will do.
Thanks. Bottom left-hand corner.
Okay. All set, Jim?
Yep.
Okay.
Next slide. The school department is going up by $400,000. They are talking internally about position freezes right now. The finance committee will have the opportunity to meet with them at their public hearings, and we'll talk about that at a later time today. The capital plan is going down from what they were originally granted. That's basically a 3-year lease purchase agreement on the smart boards. This is the 3rd year that we are executing that. And it's also technology, and right now that's probably a need of the school department, just because we are looking more and more at remote learning. We don't know what the fall is going to be and what the decisions will be for the school department. But I would like to continue to invest in technology for the school department. Next slide. The only change here is the transfer station sticker fee is going up $10 July 1. The sticker fees, the cost of the transfer station are getting very close to break even. We may lose a little money this year. We do have significant retained earnings to be able to offset that, but we try to keep it sustainable, that the fees support the cost of running the transfer station. So, Dave Arsenault's recovering from surgery, but he should be back shortly, and we wish him well. But it is the cost of running the transfer station. Right now, the highway department controls the transfer station. Because I have the highway department on what do you call it, a staggered schedule, pretty much 3 on one day, 3 on another day, and one individual covers the transfer station. So there's no additional cost being added with Dave being out on sick leave. But the transfer station is covered, and they're just not selling stickers or doing any personal interaction with the public just because of the issues with the virus. Next slide. The capital plan, it was going up over $1 million. The revised capital plan is going up essentially $540,000 through free cash, and we add the retained earnings from the sewer department of $67,000. So, you know, what was originally a capital plan of over $1 million is now down to essentially $500,000. And we focused on things that needed to be done. You know, I appreciate everybody's support. I've talked to all the department heads in making these cuts to the capital plan that were, you know, people were expecting. And so there is, the department heads are all on board with this, and I appreciate all their support. So we can talk about that if there's any questions. In the last slide. So we feel, Tim and I feel that we are somewhat prepared. We have no idea the extent of this and what we're looking at. We're trying to prepare. We're open to ideas of anybody else that has ways that we can prepare in addition to what we've already done. I think suspending the OPEB funding policy is a good move. It will give us increased financial options to address these issues. There's more that goes into the OPEB funding policy. It's also, you know, revenue from the cell tower at Town Farm Road. That's approximately $40,000. That could go into the reserve fund. You know, there's another part of that, 10% of our free cash that goes into OPEB. And right now our free cash position is pretty solid. So 10% would be, let's say, 200,000 going into the OPEB policy. But, you know, if we are looking to suspend the entire policy, we need to look at these as another additional funding options that we will have in reserve if needed. So we are also at the town meeting, whenever that's held. Hopefully it's held in June on the 22nd. We are planning to transfer 100,000 from free cash to stabilization. That will, we believe, allow us to create an additional funding source, recurring revenue of at least $50,000 in recurring revenue to deal with our budget going forward. Right now, we're pretty close to meeting the 8% of our operating budget minus debt exclusion debt. So adding this 100,000 will put us over that and hopefully make that revenue available going forward. You know, stabilization fund is solid. The OPEB fund has gone down a little bit because that's invested in more of a moderate portfolio, which is allowed by law. Stabilization is required to be conservative, and you see it went down, you know, a little bit, $20,000, $30,000, but you know, most of that's in bonds, and those, once they reach their maturity date, we will get that money. The school, they have some issues. You know, they're really, I think they're going to be challenged to open the schools. Are they going to open it all up at once? Are they going to, how are they going to do social distancing? Assuming there's no solution for this virus in the fall, what's going to happen to fall sports? You know, Ted has talked repeatedly about additional psychological stress on the students that he's going to have to address. So it's a real challenge. And in addition, special ed costs continue to put a challenge on their budget. And we had come up with a strategy on how to address that, but we hadn't presented that to the board, select board, when the crisis hit. So we're kind of holding off on that. I think they'll finish this year fine. They will put remaining money into their school choice and circuit breaker. But that's the largest department in the town, and you know, we want to see them succeed for the students' future. So so that's it. Thanks, Christine. Tim, do you want to add anything?
I can just echo what you said there at the end, and that is, you know, I feel very confident that we are in a good spot financially. We're there because of the way we conservatively budget from year to year and the way we look to the future. We look 5 years out. So, you know, there are no surprises. COVID-19 obviously is a surprise, but financially, I think we're going to handle this storm fairly well. And you know, our you know, the hard work is paid off. I think we're going to be okay.
I put the volume on.
Yeah, but just put it on.
I am. Please. I'm going up.
But financially, I think we're going to handle this storm fairly well. And our you know, hard work is paid off. I think we're going to be okay.
Could I make the suggestion to Bob Recor that he
Yeah,
possibly
go ahead.
Bob, could you shut the volume off on your TV? Because
Oh.
it's the broadcast is echoing through the system.
Oh, glad to be recognized.
All right, perfect. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt everyone.
Pat, back to you.
Okay, well, thank you, Jim. Thank you very much. And Tim, I appreciate the words too. So I think probably, I can't see hands going up. So I think I'll just do a quick roll call here. And if you have any questions, I have a few, but I'll wait to the end here. So Elizabeth, any comments?
No, you know, I work at a school and we have to make a lot of adjustments with staffing and administration and cuts and retirement. And, you know, I think that the town it seems like is in a good position where, you know, I guess my only question is the school department, what, you know, they must be thinking about their budget and have a plan in case. Is that, I know we don't control their budget, but it seems like the town is in good shape.
Yeah, I think the school department, you know, right now is doing, they will end the year in a decent position, you know, because they're not paying expenses. The teachers are not spending anything, but they are teaching remotely from home. Their electricity bill has been cut in half. Their HVAC systems are essentially shut down or put on very low levels. So they will end the year in a pretty healthy position. Yet, you know, 2021 is an unknown.
Yeah. No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah?
I shut this off.
I think you muted yourself, Sarah. There you go.
I was double muted on my phone and my computer. No, I don't have any questions at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. George?
No questions. Thanks.
Thank you. Dan?
I just had a question about the health insurance. How does any of the town's moves relate to the an increase with each town employee policy-wise?
Can you rephrase that question, Dan?
So my question is, do we know the financial impact on each employee by our health insurance policy maneuvering?
You know, To some extent. I mean, I don't know each individual employee, but, you know, we did have agreement from the unions that represent the teachers and the aides down at the school department, the Teamsters here and the police department. They were reluctant to do this, but they were aware of the, you know, the Maya offer of mid-20s. So they knew their premiums could go up much higher. And that obviously would crush the town budget, but it would also crush the individual employee's budget. So I do think we've addressed this in a way that is sensitive to the individual employees' financial needs. By creating the option of the HSA, we allow them to come over to the HSA and on a family plan get $2,000 up front. Now, if they're healthy and they don't go to the doctors anywhere as much as I do, then that's really a $2,000 raise in their salary. You know, and then they're responsible for the second half. But, you know, the way we created the select plan is it's the first 2,000 is on them, and the second 2,000 the town picks up. So I thought we'd see a greater shift to the HSA from select and direct. There's both select and direct HSA plans as well. And I thought I'd see more of a switch, but during open enrollment, it may be the crisis issue that's going on. People are not focused on health insurance. They're just, you know, talking to our insurer and saying, fine, just sign me up. I thought we'd see greater migration over to HSAs, but maybe in future years. But, you know, bottom line is the unions, and I think supporting and representing the employees agreed to this.
Okay.
Is that it, Dan?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Jared?
So overall, great job. No general question, but maybe more tactical. Do you see any, I didn't hear the need to increase in certain areas as a result of the virus with like personal protection or testing for any of the town employees or things like the senior center or food pantry, you know, so just beyond, it looks like the house is in order. Are we taking care of our people now would be the next question. And do we foresee any increases needed in certain areas to look after the townspeople at large?
Yeah, that's a good question. We actually did have a department head meeting via Zoom this morning, and that came up actually from the highway department. You know, any you know, face masks with the governor's order that anybody that can't socially distance wear a face mask in public. The highway department hasn't been doing that. So, you know, Matt Belcito, the fire chief, is working with Matt Stencil to kind of arrange for PPE for the highway department. So we have been very active with FEMA and MEMA to try to get any revenue from them, and we've had success. We've had National Guard trucks pull up and dump off a significant amount of supply to the fire department and police department. You know, we've been positive impacted by this whole thing. We've also participated in a grant through the town of Charlton, but Cheryl Rowinski, our town nurse, is the lead on that grant. And through the multiple IMAs, we will be getting a significant reimbursement for all of the COVID work that Cheryl and the staff of nurses have been working on. The nurses are currently working in the nursing suite down at the school department, high school. The nurses are being paid through the school department. And Judy Bader, Cheryl's secretary, and a number of other people are involved in this. So we will be getting significant reimbursement from the state due to their work with, you know, MAVEN, the communicable disease site MAVEN, and So that's another source of revenue that will be coming in. But all the PPE, everything, we're making sure is available. We are planning on a reopening plan with, essentially chains across the doorway, white chains. They look pretty decent. John Kuch has been responsible for that. Every entrance to the town clerk's office, my office, the building commissioner's office, everybody will have a white chain across the door, only as a statement that says, stop here and essentially state your business. And not to be offsetting, but that's just type of scenarios we're looking at going forward.
Hey, Jim, if I can add, I spoke with Cheryl Rowinski this morning, and she did say that she put in an order for quite a few masks for the town, for all the employees. So I'm not sure how many we'll get and when they'll get here, but she did put an order in.
Good.
Good, yeah.
Anything else, Jared?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Tony?
Just first, again, thank you for all the efforts, especially in the short term with everything going on and the curveball that we were all thrown here. Just kind of following up, I think I got most of my question answered, but any expectation around with the Board of Health growth for temporary need for employees? So anything in terms of enforcement of policies that might be coming down from the federal or state that might have a short-term impact on FY21?
No, I don't believe so, but we are in the process. Right now, we've got the governor's order that just came across, I think Friday, that he said that everybody that, can't socially distance needs to wear a mask. The Board of Health just wrote a letter to the police chief notifying them. They were designating all the officers and everybody at the police department as agents of the Board of Health, empowering them to enforce the rules. So where you have a situation where you have a group of people congregating without masks, that's a potential violation. Now, the police is very professional. They don't, it's not New York City. They don't tackle people and, force it upon people, but it is something that we need to address, and the police, I'm sure, will do it in a professional manner. But I don't know whether that answers your question, Tony, or not.
It does. I was just wondering if there's any, again, any expectation of additional staff, at least temporarily, for FY21, but it sounds like we've got it covered through other town employees.
Yeah, and with the grants that we received, particularly the one through Charlton, where Cheryl is the lead on, any costs that go above and beyond what the typical workday is, those are reimbursable costs. So if the nurses work, right now they're not working at the school department, but they are being paid, but they are working for the town essentially. So we'll have to see what happens in the fall. That may cut down on some of the supply of nurses, but those nurses can probably work overtime and we can charge it to the grant. So right now we seem covered by that.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Thanks. Bob?
Thank you. Jim, is there any grants available, or are we applying for any grants so that we can get masks for the general public?
We can look into that. It hasn't been a focus of ours right now. The police and fire are looking to, get PPE for themselves and EMS. And as you just heard, Tim was notified by Cheryl that she's looking to get masks for town hall so we can open. I'll look and see if there are any funding opportunities for masks for the public.
I'm thinking mainly through the senior center. There may be some seniors that, I don't know, have no ability to reach out and get masks, or maybe the senior center knows who they are. And I'm not saying thousands and thousands, but okay, it would be a nice service.
Yeah, no, I agree. And just on the senior center, Michelle Edelstein's doing a terrific job down there. The food pantry, as you can imagine, is getting
Oh.
a lot of usage. And she essentially brings a bag of food out, and people just pull up and grab the food and move on. She's not doing any income situation for anybody. She's making food available to everyone, which is, I think, the right thing to do. And
I agree.
Thanks.
Okay.
Good to
Thank
see
you.
you,
That's
Bob.
all for me.
Thanks, Bob. Susan?
Thanks. So, kind of looking at the budget holistically in all the departments and kind of long-term. So long-term, we're still looking at a difficult couple years in the not too distant future, as you said, Jim. In terms of incoming revenue and coming out of this, I don't think there is a real good timetable as to when the funding can turn around. Looking at the CARES Act, at least what's out there now, the allocations probably will be based on Title I, of which Sutton's Title I allocation is not very high. So
Right.
our allocation coming out of the CARES Act may not be very significant in terms of replacement of revenue. In terms of the school department, they've got a lot of things going on. So, they're not spending money on certain contractual issues. Hopefully they negotiated their transportation contract down, other things such as that. So my assumption is they'll be pulling all those things back in to cover their loss of revenues. As everyone knows, they lose money on their revenue for aftercare, sports fees, preschool, and I imagine school lunch is another issue. So I'm imagining that they're pulling the money that they're saving back into those revolving accounts so that they'll have them on a long-term basis. Hopefully that's the case. And what school's going to look like in the future, nobody knows.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what it will look like, even for summer. Extended school year that would happen in the summer, that may not happen.
Right.
But I guess, the other piece to it in terms of, everybody wants the schools to be the most successful, but they also have to look seriously at their enrollment. Their enrollment is way down, and so they may need to really seriously take some time and examine that budget based on the number of kids that are sitting in front of them. So those are my comments. But I guess if you are moving beyond the June town meeting, have you discussed at all the going to a 1/12 budget if you don't get the town meeting done in June? Have you discussed that strategy at all?
Not anything more than you just mentioned. It is an option if we need to do that. I'd rather not do that, but look, everything's possible at this point in time. So right now we're planning on having a FinCom Finance Warrant Committee public hearing at some point the beginning of June, and town meeting's still on for the 22nd. We have removed all the potential issues that would be a controversy, the sewer, planning board articles, anything else that would create a controversy other than the budget capital plan. So, hopefully that, decreases the attendance at a Springtown meeting in June. So, Sue, we've been through this before. 2009, 10, 11, we had ARA money, we had federal government money. You and I have been through that. And, the school department had excess school choice funds that we essentially, the town, I don't think appropriated anything for revenue to the school department and asked that the school spend down their school choice monies. And we did that for a few years and supplemented some ARA money in there, which is one-time money, just a mess. But, it worked but not without 20 layoffs of individuals, teachers that taught in the school. So that there is some pain there. We're trying to address this. We don't know how long the situation is going to go. You said multiple years. I don't know. I have no idea. Just trying to do our best to plan.
Anything else, Susan?
Nope, that's all I had. Thanks.
Thank you. This is Pat again. I have just a couple of things, and I don't mean to get into the weeds here, but a couple of things just confuse me just a little bit. If you, and I don't mean to nitpick again, but this replacement vehicle from the rolling stock and the capital plan went up $12,000 from the last one you gave us. Did something, and the generators went down. Are we buying fewer generators? Are we buying a better car?
Yeah, the police, Dennis mentioned potential buying a hybrid car. It's a Ford Explorer, but now they're producing hybrids, which would produce, be less gas that we use to run that vehicle. So that's the additional allowance for vehicles. We're buying one hybrid to see how it goes. The other one's just a replacement of a Ford Explorer. The decrease in the generator account is because I cut the number of generators we're buying.
Did we have the savings that we have on our property and casualty of 2.3%? Is that because of experience? What happened?
Yeah.
You changed carriers?
It's same carrier. A lot of it's experience. Same way health insurance is done. We had fewer claims. Some lawsuits had been resolved. Workers' compensation, fewer claims from employees. So that, in part, the overall experience of the state gave us that decrease in costs.
All right, good. And my other is just a planning question here, and you touched on a number of things here, but if you anticipate that the issues that we're going through are going to continue, do we need more computers? Do we need more things for the people in town government in order for them to continue to work? I mean, are we looking at it? Are we looking at, furloughs with and without carrying health insurance for people? In other words, I'm not asking you what we're doing. I'm just asking, are we planning? So in best case, nothing will happen. We'll just be back to normal. But are we anticipating any of that? Are we thinking about it?
Yeah, I mean, we're thinking about everything that we can imagine. Because we have no idea, even if the federal government's going to pass some sort of state and municipal relief. That's still in discussions up there. And, we may be on our own, but we don't know that. So yeah, we are looking at everything. We decided not to lay off the cafeteria workers or the after-school workers and put them on the unemployment line. They are still being paid. I do think we will be fine in the lunch account after analysis that we've had with the business manager and the superintendent. So I did get the okay from the select board to appropriate at year end of 2021 in May, if there is a deficit of some sort over this lunch program, that we could appropriate some free cash to that account. But I don't expect that at this point in time.
Okay.
But that's assuming everything's open and we're operating in the fall. I'm not sure that's the case. I think fall sports are probably considering. I don't know what's going to happen at the fall.
Okay, that's good. So let me go back to Dave. Dave, for you and any of the members of the board here who had questions.
Great. Thank you very much, Pat. We'll open it up to questions, starting with Jesse.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Jim. My mind was wandering as you were given the presentation, and You know, for me personally, I'm a little concerned with what, at least at first appearance, is that seemingly large increase to the school's appropriation, especially in light of some of the things that Sue touched upon. While I don't know the exact percentage of residents in town who have suffered economically due to the governor's decision to shut down non-essential businesses, but I'm sure that it's proportionally reflective of what we see in the rest of the Commonwealth. At the same time, I'm glad to see that the out-of-the-box thinking, which I've personally come to expect from the financial team, once again is in play. Sure, the school is going up, but look at how that increase is being offset, at least again at face value. Temporarily suspending the OPED funding, as well as making cuts from the capital plan, I think is very, very clever indeed. I mean, after all, now's not the time for us as a town to be looking like we're going to spend, particularly at a point that appears to lack empathy, if you will. So hopefully that the cuts that have been presented in this budget update will help alleviate any concerns that residents who are watching this may have, because I know they did take a little stress off of my mind. So Tim and Jim, thank you for your hard work as always. And I appreciate, as I said, your cleverness, which again, it's what we should expect. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Can I make 2 comments in response to Jesse?
Yeah, go ahead.
Dave? Thank you. The 400,000 increase that the school gets, that pretty much just covers the contractual increases to the employees. So it doesn't really add any money to their budget. It just keeps up with payroll costs. And the other comment had to do with unemployment. Well, you know, if we lay off an employee, if the school laid off an employee, it may save some money in the budget. But as a municipality, we don't pay into the state unemployment insurance fund. We're self-insured. So all that does is shift the burden from school, for example, paying that employee, to the town picking up 100% of the unemployment costs. It doesn't save, you know, when you look at the town-wide, it doesn't save us any money. It just shifts the burden from school to town. Who's going to pay for that employee, whether they're on the active payroll or they're on unemployment. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. I appreciate that. But again, my concern is less necessarily our perspective. It's the perspective of the people who are at home tuning in. So thank you for fully explaining that. I appreciate that. Thank you again, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Wendy.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have more of a general comment. I just want to thank Jim and Tim once again for their conservative financial planning. There's going to be an enormous impact on the cities with the state budget cuts, but also in communities the size of ours. So I think we're in a relatively good position, and I just want to thank you again for your conservative economic planning.
Thank you.
That's all.
I have a quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do all the students in the schools have a device at home? Do you know, is there a need by any of our residents for a computer, or is everyone able to if this does go into the fall with the online learning?
Yeah.
Is there a provision in place to make sure that all of our residents have some kind of device that they can get onto the, I know at our school we have to make sure everyone has a device. And we've had to increase our IT budget so that we can have the online platforms that are necessary in case this does go into the fall. Do you know, I know it's probably not a question for you, maybe the school department, but does everybody have a device?
The answer to that question is yes. When the school went on the extended lockdown, they issued, I believe, 40 or 50 Chromebooks to people that didn't have a device. So everybody has a device that needs one. So they all have it. In the fall, we'll have to revisit and make sure if we are doing remote learning again, that everybody has a device, but we made sure that everybody had one. Good question.
And you have 60,000 in the capital budget for increases. Is that for software platforms or?
To be honest, I don't know. Dan Durgan runs that, and I trust him. He's also the IT manager for the town, and he has done yeoman's work for us. So when he asks for the money, I know it's going to be well spent.
Yeah, good.
Thanks.
Jeff, your turn. Jeff, you with us? You're muted.
My screen just froze for a minute. Sorry about that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Jim, for the presentation, and Tim as well. And I think, as we talked about in our last meeting, the town's in good hands as far as the budget and the conservative nature that we always budget in. I just had a couple of three, I think, kind of random questions or comments. And first, you mentioned the opt-outs went up to 28, I think, Jim, for the health insurance. For those people whose spouses may then become unemployed in the future, is there a mechanism for them to get back onto the school plan?
Yes, that would be, I would assume that would be a qualifying event that would enable them to join our health plan again.
Okay. And the money that gets paid to them, is that at the end of the year, or is that something that we pay to them up front, and would we then recoup that?
Tim, can you answer that?
I wish I could.
Okay. So
I believe Erin was actually looking at paying them out. So I don't know whether it's done at the end of the year or in two different payments. I can get you some information on that. I don't know.
It's definitely not. We're definitely not paying out money at the beginning of the fiscal year.
Right.
So it's either December or it's closer to June 30.
Okay.
Because just for that reason.
Okay.
And same with, we wouldn't want to pay an opt-out and then someone decide to move on to another municipality and we've already paid that money out.
Sure. Yep. Second question, not related to that, but have we been able to lock in any of these low fuel costs?
The answer is yes, to the extent that we have storage capability. I mean, we have, filled up our heating oil here at Town Hall. I know they filled up their tanks at the school department. We filled up our tank down at the highway. We've gotten ridiculously cheap rates because we don't pay any state or federal taxes. We're tax exempt. So I believe the last time we filled up the oil tanks or gas tanks down at the highway department, it was, 80 cents per gallon, ridiculously low. So yeah, it'd be nice if we had safe storage capacity because we'd be filling up wherever we have tanks.
Okay. And then just the last thing is with respect to BVT, the increase of 90,000, has that changed at all from the original budget, or is that, and what kind of problems might they be having over there that might kind of come our way sooner or later?
Yeah, that might be a better question for Dr. Fitzpatrick at the public hearings. I think, they're still operating as normal. We are a victim of our Chapter 70 formula or Chapter 71 formula for regional districts. And because they put us in the so-called wealthy area, our assessment, even though we have fewer kids than, some of the larger contributing communities, we pay more per student because of the Chapter 71 formula.
Good. Okay, thanks. Mr. Chairman, that's all I had.
Very good. Thank you very much. Hey, Ken, I'll put you on the spot since you've been sitting through this whole thing. If you want to make a comment or ask a question, I'll give you an opportunity. You're muted.
Yeah, so, you know, I think that Jim has prepared us for over the years for exactly something like this. Not quite a coronavirus, but I think with him and Tim's leadership, you know, to have this kind of meeting and to know that, you know, there's money in the reserves is not surprising. Given my years, you know, with being on the selectmen and being in the position now. So I think I echo what other people have said is great job. I mean, nobody anticipated something like this, but I think we're probably well suited, better well suited than most towns. So great job.
Thank you.
And you made my life easier by just going over the budget for the town meeting.
Yeah.
Thank
You
you.
know, I don't really have a lot to add in terms of questions. You know, first of all, I want to thank again the Finance Committee for getting this meeting together. A lot of great questions, and certainly for allowing our board to sort of jump in and be part of this meeting. You know, we've had a balanced budget in place for a while, but the circumstances have kind of forced us to take another look at it. And so I just want to thank, as we do, Jim and Tim again for their efforts to comb through this and sort of take a further, more conservative look at it, given the circumstances that we're in. And I think the only other observation I have is that we just need to continue to recognize that this is a really fluid situation. We probably have not accounted for everything that's going to happen, and we just have to continue to be vigilant and flexible around where we're going to go, where we're going to end up. So that's really all I have, and I want to say thanks again. Thanks to everybody.
Thank you, and I appreciate it. The only other business that I'm aware of is that we want to come up with some dates that we have meetings, but it's from my conversations with some folks in the town hall today. Jim, is my understanding you're still working? Where are you, Jim? I got to find you on here. There you are. Hi, Jim. Well, if I move this thing back and forth, I see more people. Are we still working on dates, or do we want to try to schedule calendars now, or do you want you and I to work on that, and then I can send some emails out and come up with some dates?
You know, I am looking right now, you know, and part of it depends upon the Finance Committee thoughts and desires, but right now I'm leaning towards a Zoom public hearing. And that, a lot of that depends upon the Finance Committee reaction, but you know, the challenge of bringing everybody into town hall, you know, socially distancing around that table, it's just going to be a challenge. And then we're going to have, you know, Dr. Fitzpatrick and all the certain department heads that we will decide that comes before the Finance Committee. I think a Zoom meeting, Pam and Christine in the communications department are just learning this stuff quicker than I could ever imagine. They are planning on doing a public hearing for the planning board on May 18th, a public hearing for the Conservation Commission on June 3rd. So they're working on the public hearing process. So we may be able to hold a public hearing of the Finance Committee at the beginning of June, and then obviously town meeting on the 22nd of June.
Okay. So I just thought, is anybody opposed to having another format like this for our hearings?
Jim, do you anticipate public participation in that?
To some extent, yes, but I believe that Christine and Pam are prepared for it. They have mechanisms that they're putting in place right now. I believe this meeting is being broadcast live right now, which, you know, a week or two ago, we didn't believe that was possible, or we didn't have the tools to do that. So they are learning at a really quick rate, and I believe that ability will be there.
Yeah. All right. Well, so unless someone objects, then why don't you and I work on some dates here, and let's anticipate that this is how we're going to do it. All right.
Sounds good.
Does anybody else have any other comments they'd like to make before I ask for a motion to close and go have dinner?
Just one, Mr. Chairman, that this is still, somebody said, I don't know, it was Dave or somebody said, this is still a moving target. As soon as we get any news from the state government of anticipated cuts, if they're greater than what we're anticipating, then we can make those cuts now before the budget is approved. We have additional time to make decisions, but this is just the status as we sit now. But it's a moving target, and I'll keep you up to date.
Okay. Well, Dan was good enough to send me a note a week or so ago saying what's going on. So we'll keep everybody posted as best we can here with emails and anything else. And I would encourage you, if you have any questions from our board, give me a call or give Jim a call. He's always available. I know I get him all the time. So I thank you again, and Jim and Tim, I thank you. I echo what everybody else has said here. I think we're unbelievably fortunate to have you two. So thank you very much for all your hard work. I'll entertain a motion to close. Come on, Jim.
Motion to close.
Second.
All right. Second. All right. Hey, thank you, everybody. Have a nice evening. Stay safe.
Hey, wait a minute, hold on, don't hang up. We got to do the same thing.
Oh, you'll do
Oh.
it.
Mr. Chairman, could I make a?
Adjourn. Oh, sorry. Jeff.
I'll second Wendy's motion.
All right, I think we can do it this way. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passes
All right.
4-0.
Don't forget to wash your hands. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.